My crazy. Hi.
Hello. So you write under the pen name Mara A. Miller, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
there's also my
Crumbled
actual name.
Bliss. It's also what? Oh, you
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a pen name.
Mm.
Gotcha. And then you just published Crumbled Bliss. Do you want to give like kind of a synopsis or of what it's about?
It's about this girl who falls in love with her best friend when she's 14, but he's dating her sister. So it really puts her in a hard situation where she doesn't want to break her sister's heart, but she also doesn't want to ruin her friendship with him, with Joey, and the girl's name is Patience. But it ends up being that he has feelings for her too, but the day her sister graduates, it all goes to crap, and her sister ends up dying. And then he ends up moving to Ohio because he just has to get out of South Carolina, and so he's away for, I think it was 4 years, and when he comes home, he ends up finding out that Patient really does need his help with some family stuff that's going on, and wow, I cannot summarize my own novel. I can just read the back. I have it right here.
There you go. Do you go ahead and show the cover and stuff while you've got it? So that yeah, I love the cover. It's very pretty.
I do love the cover here. I'll just read the back. Joey Slater broke Patience Daniel's heart the night that she found out he asked her sister to marry him at a party, and then the crash happened. Joey made it. Sarah didn't. That night left Patience without two of the most important people in her life. Now she's in college and managing her grandmother's bakery, stronger than ever. Life's mostly okay until Joey walks back into her life asking for cupcakes. Joey only wants to be part of Patience's life again. After tragedy strikes her family once more, he knows he can't walk away from her this time. All he seeks is redemption with this beautiful girl. He's no longer that messed up, confused 17-year-old boy who couldn't decide who he loved. That's a big plot point in the story. He was so messed up because he was so in love with Patience, but he was also in love with Sarah. And then something happens, and he can't make a decision that night. So he feels like he has to step away. Patience must not only navigate her feelings for Joey, but she must also deal with her family. She can't lose the bakery. It's one thing which always brought together her family, and somehow through it all, Joey's become her rock again. Can Patience forgive Joey for breaking her heart? So it's about heartache, second chance romance, all my favorite things.
Nice. Yeah. Well, so one of my questions was, what are your favorite romance tropes?
Second chance romance. Let me think, because I know them. It's hard. It's not fair to ask me that question.
Words are hard, and I think it's hilarious whenever someone is like, "You're an author, you know words," and I'm like, "Yeah."
What are words? I mean, I have a master's degree, which is on the back wall right there, and I still can't think of words. Second chance romances are like really my favorite ones. Best friends to lovers. That's what I tend to write. And then there's a few other tropes like the bad guy or the bad boy with the innocent chick. That kind of romance. God, I can't. Oh, I've been reading Melissa K. Adams' romance book club also until she plays with the tropes. The latest one was the best friends to lovers trope, and she had a cat cafe, and they had some stuff going on, and I just really loved that book because it was like, well, does he want to risk that with her? Because they become best friends. Melissa K. Adams is a really good writer. So yeah, I just kind of love it all.
Is that what inspired you to write about a bakery? Did that inspire the setting?
Actually, no. I was baking some bread one day, and my mom and I were just talking, actually. And I was like, I really want to kill off a grandmother. Because I didn't have the best relationship with my own grandmother on my dad's side. There's a big long story I don't want to go into, but I just kind of had some some issues to work out. And my mom and I started talking, and she's like, kill her off with a cherry pit. And I'm like, really? That's an idea, because I was going through like a really angsty writer phase, because I had just gotten divorced, and I was like trying to think of how to kill this character off.
Yeah.
And it took a few years, but I ended up writing it. So that's where that came from. My conversation with my mom is actually what inspired it. So
that's
yeah.
You know, sometimes you just can't make these things up, right?
No, you can't. My mom, this idea started with something my mom suggested. So my mom and I are really close.
So then, what was the inspiration behind the like the sister love triangle?
That was just me being an angst queen, because I love love triangles. Like Buffy the Vampire Slayer didn't have very many loves. I mean, there was kind of one with Spike and Angel, but my favorite one is between Stefan Damon and Elena in the Vampire Diaries.
Okay.
That's kind of where it stemmed from. So I was like, you know what? I want to play with a love triangle.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is not your first novel, correct? You have a few. Okay. So what have you discovered about your writing process this far in your career?
I can sit down and I can plot a novel all day long, and I have plotted several books. But at the end of the day, I'm going to end up pantsing the whole thing. Ideas come to me, and then it's like, no, that's not going to work, so I throw it away. And I've been doing that. I've done that with 3 different books in the past, like since I finished this one, and it's like I can't. I finally settled on an idea, but there's no rhyme or reason to this chaos.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
that's why it might take me a little longer to write something, but in the end, I always feel like the novel is a lot better.
Right.
So,
yeah. So it sounds almost like you treat an outline like a rough draft. Like you outline it, then that's your first draft, and then you're like, no, I want to change other stuff. So then you like do it again, and so on and so forth until you've cathartically burned enough papers, and then
pretty much. I mean, this is one of my notebooks. It's not as thick as it used to be because I've ripped out half the paper.
I do that too. I'm like,
yeah. It's much thinner.
Mm-hmm.
I handwrite also when I'm going through my process.
Mm-hmm.
I'll write like 10 pages, and then I'll be like, okay, I like this, and then I go ahead and put it on the computer. But that's why it takes me longer to write, I think, because it didn't take me as long because this was my thesis.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me almost a year to write Cheap Tricks, which is the one that I published before this one. And then it was another 2 years before I published another one. So it takes me some time, but I'm trying to get faster.
Well, supposedly that comes with, writing more books, but writing is one of those things that I've personally realized the more you do it, the harder it gets, because the more you learn, the more you're trying to like apply it all at one time. And so like drafts start to feel like I just want to
and
tear it all away.
And then I made the mistake of getting my Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, which like makes me think like double think everything, and like is this gonna work? Is this not gonna work? Is it gonna be crap? It makes it twice as hard. But
because you're constantly analyzing what you're putting down on the page.
That's why I like to do things like participate in National Novel Writing Month, because it forces me to like stop writing. In July, I actually think I'm going to do the next now. I'm going to try to finish Cheap Vows, and then I'm going to try to force myself to work on the next book in the Blissful Bite series.
Nice. So, how many books have you written so far, and which one was your favorite to write, and why?
Published, there are 7.
Okay.
Non-published, there are about 9.
Okay.
But I honestly think my first one was Cheap Guitars, that I really, really fell in love with, because she's going through a divorce. She's coming back home. She's falling in love with her friend, friends and lovers. And they're dealing with family stuff, and it's a small town, and she just about coming home, and that was the book that put me on the path of writing romance, because before I got divorced, I didn't think that I was going to write it. The title, actually, Cheap Guitars, was the title that my ex-husband had started using during National Writing Month. It was just a title. There was nothing else. I don't even remember what he was writing about. But I loved that title, so I took it, and I turned it into an entire series. As far as I know, he knows about it. He doesn't care, because we never talk anymore anyway. His stepson lives, my son lives here. Stepson lives here with us. And he just thinks it's funny that I named the book after something his dad was going to write. But that was honestly the novel that set me on my path as becoming a romance writer. And I never thought I wanted to write romance. I thought I was going to write paranormal vampire stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's easy to think that you're going to write what you watch or what you read. And then sometimes you get into, writing it and you're like, man, this sucks.
Well, before that, I was a fan fiction writer. I have actually some fan fiction that was published. I guess 10 books actually. All this time, it was a fan fiction that I actually had published on the Kindle Worlds. Well, that was still a thing. And I really did love writing that book, but it's like outside of fan fiction, I don't think I want to. I mean, like, I like the idea of writing paranormal, and I love reading it, but it's like too much work. I feel like it would take me twice as long to write one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So whenever you're not writing, what are you doing?
I'm knitting, watching TV. I went on an Avengers binge the past week.
Nice.
Watched all the movies again. Take care of my chickens. I have 16 of them right now. 5 are going to my mom's, but I just love raising chickens.
Chickens are fun. I used to watch chickens for my neighbor when they were still living in the neighborhood, and I always was really excited to go play with his chickens.
That's funny. Yeah, I have a rooster right now. He's under a year old, and he got hurt, so he actually lived in the house for a while. Now he comes to me when he's called, and I named him Darcy, and then I have another one I named Elizabeth. So I've got Darcy and Elizabeth.
Nice.
So,
very nice.
Yeah.
So,
and I love Jane Austen. So,
and you love what? I'm sorry.
Jane Austen.
Oh,
yeah.
See, I know so many people who are huge Jane Austen fans, and she was never someone that I really got into. I read Agatha Christie for a minute, and then kind of bailed on.
Northanger Abbey was the one that got me.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I'll look at the plot of that one. So, when did you write your first story?
My first story? My first book, or just a first story?
Just the first story. Like, when do you remember putting a story down and saying, "Oh, this is a thing that I like doing"? I
was 10 or 11 years old, and I started writing about a vampire. I have dyslexia, so my mom was always constantly handing me books. She said, "We're not going to have this. You're not going to be struggling with reading anymore. Just take it and read it. Like, try to read this book." The first thing she ever handed me was an Nora Roberts book. But then the next thing I picked up was, what was that book? It was something by P.N. Elrod, his vampire mystery, A Chill in the Blood.
Okay.
And I loved it. It was, in 1 second, I got to plug my computer in. It was interesting, and I liked the idea of like a detective vampire who's trying to figure out who killed him, what happened. I don't really remember the whole plot of that book, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a story about this girl who has this 1,000-year-old fight with this ex-boyfriend, and that's kind of where it started. And
I love that.
Yeah, I actually I've committed myself to, after I finish my 3 series that I have right now, I'm going to work on those books because I do want to write them. I say I don't want to write paranormal romance, but I'm going to end up writing paranormal romance.
Yeah, sticking around long enough.
Yeah, it's been in my head since I was 11. So
yeah,
and it's developed since then, but I just really like the idea. So yeah,
that's great. So where do you do most of your writing, and then where is your favorite place to write? Because I know that they're not necessarily mutually exclusive.
my favorite place, like both, is in my office right here. Like it's big and messy, but I've got this desk, so my desk takes up my entire wall. And then I've got a corner desk right here where I have my printer and everything, and it's just a place where I can come and escape and like be away from everyone. Because I mean, I love my boyfriend, I love my animals, but sometimes I just need my space. So yeah, and it's especially with the pandemic. Like I used to like to go to coffee shops and write. Like Starbucks was so fun to write in. Yeah, but since all that happened, it's like this is my comfort zone now.
So, right. Yeah, that's I tend to like my office too because I can go and shut the door. Available.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I try to say I'm not available. It doesn't always work, but
no, it never always works. But you know, that we can trick ourselves for a few minutes at a time, right?
Yeah, exactly. It especially helps. Especially helps because I like to do writing sprints. So I have like this little thing. It's called Be Focused, and so like 20 minutes at a time it'll go, and then it'll ding, and it's like if it dings and I've not been writing, I feel so guilty, and so I write more the next session. So
nice. That's fun. That's a fun way to kind of kick yourself into gear.
Yeah.
So then, who's an author, or maybe not an author, that inspires your work? Who is a big inspiration to you?
Let me think for a second. Honestly, I have to say my mom is my inspiration. And then after that, I really love Nora Roberts and Colleen Hoover, as far as authors go. But my mom is actually a poet. She has some stuff mostly published online, but she's the one. She was always writing, always reading when I was little. And because I have dyslexia and she saw me struggle with it, she wanted me to read, so I started reading. And then she started saying, well, why don't you try writing? And it just kind of happened. Yeah. So she's like my biggest inspiration for that.
So is she who you go to when you're stuck then, whenever you're like at this place where you're like, God, I don't know what I need to make happen? Is she the person you go and poke, like, hey, help me out?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. My mom is one of the people who I go to. And then I have a friend, Bonnie Griffin. She we met in the Master of Fine Arts program at Southern New Hampshire University. We both recently graduated. She's also another person I'll poke and be like, hey, wait a minute, I need to talk this out for a second. So, yeah. That's great. I have really bad anxiety lately. I'm actually
I think a lot of people are starting to deal with that.
Yeah, it's been getting bad over the past year. So I'm taking medicine for it and everything, and I took a big hit as far as like being nervous about writing and having imposter syndrome, which is silly because I have 7 books. But like I'll go to Bonnie and I'll be like, hey, this sounds stupid. And then I have a few people I poke for ideas and stuff.
That's cool. It's always fun to figure out who your your writing people are, and then
one of my best writing friends is Barb. She lives in Norway. So our time differences are but it's fun to talk to her because she's really hard on me. She's like, this sucks, you need to rewrite it. And she gets on to me about too. She gets on to me about the grammar because she's teaching English.
So she's like, no now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hilarious. Funny. Yeah,
that's awesome. So what's a book that you would recommend to people? Like someone comes up to you on the street and says, hey, I just really want a good book. What do you recommend?
Let me see. I have one over here. 1 second. Where to put it? Is this the first one? I don't remember. Okay, so this is not the first book in the series, but Reid and Erwin. I forget what the first one was, but Jennifer Armentrout. If you like paranormal romance, she's a really good one. Storm and Fury is the first one. I see it on my desk. I just don't want to stand up. And then as far as romances go, like just normal run-of-the-mill romances, I love Jacinda Wilder. Her Falling Away series. Excellent.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Very cool. So where can people get your book?
Amazon, Kindle Unlimited. You can find them on sale in Barnes & Noble. I think Lexington might be carrying The Barnes and Noble in Lexington might be carrying cheap guitars right now.
Okay.
I talked to someone and they said she was going to order a copy, but mostly Amazon because it's on Kindle Unlimited. It's free to read on Kindle Unlimited. So,
do you have a website?
Yes, I do. It's www.authormaraamiller.com.
All right, and then people can follow you on social media at Mara A. Miller?
Yeah. Actually, let me look at my usernames. I have several. It's like I can't keep one username. I have to have like 50 million.
See, I was lazy and was like, I'm just gonna go with mine.
It's author M.A. Miller on Twitter.
Okay.
You can find me under Mara A. Miller on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, and I have also Mars Bars, which is a Facebook group. You can join that and interact with me more. Then my Instagram is, let me find it. What is my name on there? Mara A. Miller. Okay. No, Mara A. Miller.
All right. Awesome. And do you have any newsletters or anything that you want people to know about?
I don't have a newsletter yet. I'm planning on trying to get that up and going. I just haven't done it yet because I don't want to use my personal address at my house. Gotcha. So yeah, I would rather have a PO box first.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I ended up doing too, was just grabbing a PO box because didn't want to. It's like, you can't have my address.
I mean, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, this is my house. I bought it last year. I don't want people having my personal address.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking with me about Crumbled Bliss. And you said you're going to be writing another one in the Cheap series before you...
Yeah, I'm finishing the Cheap series, and then I'm going to be working on the next book. It's going to be The Sister Harper is the next one she's getting.
Yes, that was my next question, was who's next?
yeah, probably Harper. Yeah. Brianna, sorry, not Brianna. The mean sister's going to get a book too.
Okay. I was going to ask, is Brianna getting a book? Because she seems to be in a bad place right now.
Yeah, she's getting one too. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we will look forward to that from you then.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.